Okay, very good morning, everyone. I, Dr. Sanket Charkha from Sinhagad Institute, Savitribai Phule Pune University, welcomes you for today's lecture on International Business Economics. It is a general elective university level core subjects, which is a compulsory subjects, and we'll be today dealing with and understanding the components and explanations with regard to chapter 2. In the first chapter, to give you a brief background about what was the first chapter, in the first chapter, we have dealt with the international trade theories with concept to the development since industrial revolution of 16th century and post which the various trade theories that had been developed. With respect to the trade theories component, we have seen with the trade theory that has been developed and designed by or proposed by Adam Smith. Then we have went further with the understanding of trade theory provided by David Ricardo, which specifically focuses on the comparative advantage. Then further, we have seen with the Heckler-Ohlin model of factor and endowment, that is factor of abundance, wherein we have considered all the factors of production are made available and the trade can be conducted. Lastly, we have seen the fourth trade theory with respect to Krugman's model of intra-industry trade, wherein we have seen that if all the factors of production are taken into consideration, how the business can be done or conducted more effectively. Furthermore, in the year 2003, a new econometric model was also been proposed by Melitz. We have not dealt with this in this particular thing in detail, but all the pre-trade theories, that is the trade theory provided by Adam Smith, provided by David Ricardo, provided by the Heckler-Ohlin and Krugman's theory, we have dealt with in detail. Now, today we'll be dealing with the next second chapter, that is the trade policies. In this particular chapter, what we are going to look for, we are going to look for the various perspectives or the perspectives with respect to the trade agreement. Now, whenever we say trade agreement, we have already dealt with what is an agreement, what is a contract, and what are the various bindings or rules in which a contract needs to be performed. So here, with respect to the conduct of trade, now trade in the sense exchange of goods and services for benefits of each other. Now this particular each other is specifically with respect to the nations or the country as a respect or a perspectives. The trade policies that have been specifically dealt with are here with respect to the comparison of unilateral trade agreement and multilateral trade agreements. Then further, we'll also be studying and looking into the picture of tariffs in the competitive market. So what are the various tariffs that have been imposed by the states, by the governments, by the nations while conducting or undertaking or undergoing the concepts of international trade. So various tariffs in the competitive market will be dealing with. Then we'll also studying with the WTO tariff policy. Now, WTO tariff policy is that particular concern wherein the World Trade Organization, after its establishment or functioning in 1994 or 95, what various policies that they have framed, what are the various rules and guidelines that they have set, or a certain standards of operating procedure which a particular individual nation has to follow in order to undertake or conduct the business policies. The various quotas that are made available in perfect competitive market and monopolistic markets. Further, we'll also be dealing and studying with respect to the dumping and anti-dumping policy under the WTO. Now, since the industrialization era, what we are seeing that the production is in a limited perspective. So, but after a point of time when the production is at a very larger scale, when countries or nations are focusing on the respective competitive advantage, what is happening? The production, when it becomes excessive, either there is an dumping or either it is an anti-dumping. So what are the various policies and guidelines that has been given with respect to the dumping and anti-dumping? And these specifically guidelines are been provided by the World Trade Organization, that is WTO. Next perspective, we'll be touching with the subsidiaries and the countervailing duties under the WTO. So if a particular nation is not comfortable or feasible to conduct a business activity, what are the various subsidies that are needed to be provided by the respective governments at the local level, international level, and the global level. So here, the subsidies that have been provided by the government for promotion of trade, for promotion of business activities, for promotion of commercial activities, for promotion and undertaking the activities of imports and exports in a further or in a fluent way. So these particular subsidies are we are going to deal with in detail. The various export taxes. So if a particular nation or if a particular country wants to export its goods and services, so what are the various taxes that a particular nation imposes and what are the various taxes that a particular nation has to pay? So from the both the perspectives with respect to the payment and from the receipt purpose, we'll be dealing with the export taxes. Then we'll also dealing with a sub-chapter of export subsidies and economic integration. Now, export subsidies is a particular concern you must be hearing, or you must be unaware of a particular concern called as an when a particular country or a particular nation or a particular economy is developing a certain goods and services within a specific zone, it is called as an export oriented zone or an economic zone. So in this particular perspectives, we'll be dealing with if a particular economic zone has been established, what are the various subsidies available for them? If a particular industry or a firm has been established into this particular special economic zone, what are the various subsidies available for him? Now, if a particular product from your economic zone or from your economy, it has been exported, then for export promotion, what are the various subsidies the government provide? The subsidies with respect to the taxes, the subsidies with respect to the goods and services, everything will be dealing in detail. Lastly, it comes the picture of economic integration. Now, economic integration is the interdependency of each and every nations on each other. That will be focusing on the customs union and the free trade areas. So there are certain areas which the government declares on every year, and whenever this particular area is declared as a free trade, so at this point of time, there is a minimal taxes, there is a minimal rules, regulations, there is a availability of all factors of production in an abundant way, and the government also supports for the trade activities. So what are the various free trade areas in India and what are the various free trade areas across the world wherein the government is promoting or government is supporting the conducive environment, creating the conducive environment in order to develop the business activities. And lastly, with respect to the chapter 2, we'll be dealing with the major regional trade agreements. So what are the various regional trade agreements at the respective country level or the national level? So here at this point of time, the various trade agreement with respect to the US, India, Russia, Europe, China, Japan, and so on. So a particular trade agreement can be between nations, or particular trade agreement can be between different nations. So several number of nations, that is 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, 70, 80, 100, 120, and so on. So several number of countries also can come together and they form the respective trade agreements, and the business can be conducted accordingly. So here, going with this particular concern, we are starting with the first topic or the first unit, that is, it is with respect to the trade agreement. So going further, I'm introducing you to this chapter or this subunit. Introduction to the trade agreement or trade agreement is any contractual agreement between the states concerning their relationship. So any agreement that has been formed between two nations or two countries wherein it defines their rules, regulations, and policies with respect to their contractual obligations. So whenever we say a particular contractual obligation needs to be followed, it is always between the states. Now here, between the states, I mean to specifically explain you that is between the countries, because whenever we call a state is represented as an economy or a particular country. So whatever the relationship that they need to follow, what are the various agreements that they need to follow, the guidelines, the compliances, and respective coordination between the nations is called as a trade agreement. Now I'll give a quote an example for you. Now, if particular India wants to export a certain goods and services to US, and US wants to export certain goods and services to India. So this particular example gives you a certain concern wherein both the countries are exchanging the goods and services. Now, whenever these particular goods and services are being exchanged, what happened? The foreign diplomats, the ambassadors to the India and the US, they come together, the government signs an agreement that is called as an MOU. And with respect to this particular MOU, that is Memorandum of Understanding, the relationship of trade and exchange, the relationship of buyer and seller established between the two nations, and this particular agreement is called as a contractual trade agreement. Now, this particular contractual trade agreement, it may be for exchange of goods, it may be for exchange of services or anything. Now, this particular purchase may be the purchase of goods for the industry, it may be for the company, it may be for the firm, it may be for the small scale production, it may be for the large scale production, or it may be for the purchase of government undertaking also. So a government can also undergo this particular trade agreement, or a particular company can also go this trade agreement. So here, the relationship that has been identified, the guidelines that has been set, the MOU that has been signed between the nations is called as an contractual agreement or a trade agreement. Now, trade agreement is a type of an economic integration. Yes. Why? Because economic integration is a particular perspective wherein the economy is getting benefited. There is exchange of goods and services. So one economy is in receipt of goods, and whereas other economy is in receipt of the monetary perspective, the monetary benefit. Why? Because as per the Adam Smith theory, everything is not available free of cost. We have to give something in return. Now, in something in return, now, for example, if you are importing certain goods and services from US, what happened? In return, we are providing them a certain currency. Now, this particular currency may be either the valuation of currency may be 100 billion, 200 billion, 500 billion, or we are in exchange, we are providing some another goods and services to them. So here it is an economic integration wherein both the economies are getting benefited or developed simultaneously. Furthermore, successful trade agreements are very complicated. Now, why successful trade agreements are treated to be very complicated? Because it needs a certain set procedure that needs to be followed. Now, whenever I say the certain set procedure needs to be followed, what we need to understand that if all the terms and conditions, if all the guidelines have been followed, fulfilled, then only a trade agreement can be successful. So in order to be a successful trade agreement, what we need to see, it should have a certain common features. Now that particular common features with respect to trade agreements are 1, 2, 3, we'll look further. First thing, that is the reciprocity. Now reciprocity is a particular concern wherein you provide a certain feasibility, you provide a certain option that if a particular trade agreement needs to be conducted or if a particular transaction in a specific term needs to be conducted between two nations, that is two countries specifically, or either you say two states, then what is the particular concern? That we are exchanging the goods and services. So if one country is receiving a certain goods, the other country must also be a recipient of some another factor or favor. So if I'm importing a certain goods, in return, I'm giving a certain goods or services to some another nation. So here the reciprocity plays a very important role. Nothing is available for us for a free of cost. And if you are providing it for a free of cost, the providers must also get a favorable benefit out of it. So here what we need to see, the common feature of reciprocity should be into concern. Now, this particular reciprocity applies to both the concerns, that is for the import perspectives as well as for the export perspectives. Another concern that you need to have a common feature is the most favored nations clause. So MFN clause, it has been into establish or into particular concern, wherein after the picture of another years, certain years around 2005 or 2010, after the footfall or the proper establishment of WTO, that is the World Trade Organization, we have all the particular nations has come to a certain conclusion that they have established a certain clause wherein if you are under the perspectives of the MFN, that is most favored nation clause, what happens? The priority, the focus, or the particular perspective is given for a specifically to a certain nation, and that particular nation is getting a benefit out of it. I'll give a quote or of certain examples to understand what is MFN clause. Now, there was a certain concern wherein we as an Indian economy or we as a defense perspective, we're looking for the perspectives of purchase of Rafale aircraft. Now, whenever this particular aircraft was needed to be purchased, whatever, we have approached or given the clauses or the certain quotation was been circulated across the globe. Now, different nations or different countries have participated and provided their respective quotations, wherein we have received the quotations from US also, for Germany also, from France also, from the Russia also, and so on. Now, after a point of time, what happened when we were dealing or signing with the trade agreements, there is a certain person, there is a certain concern. Now, in earlier situation, now when a particular historical background or a historical trade transaction was been conducted, we are having a certain concern that whenever the goods and services was been exported or imported, we as a friendly relationship, we are having a we were dealing with the goods and services with respect to France. Now, whenever this particular France country related activity was at a certain stage, that both the countries were getting benefit out of it, there was a certain point of time wherein the France has laid a certain condition that even in further, if you want to, if we want to, or if I want to, or if you want to conduct this particular business activities, you can provide us a status of MFN clause. So now MFN clause, if it has been provided to France, what happened? Now this particular transaction has to purchase of Rafale. Now, when this particular transaction came into picture, what happened? We as an Indian economy, what we'll look for the particular clause with the country wherein we have friendly relations, the country with wherein we have provided an MFN perspective. Now, when the analysis of these goods and services, when the analysis of the requirement, when the analysis of the quotation was going on, what happened? The priority, the focus, the perspectives or the particular option was specifically given for the MFN clause. Now, MFN clause was a particular concern wherein this particular clause was already favoring the country of France, and when France has already provided this particular quotation, we have given the perspectives and the particular option of France was being selected. So in this particular concern, this particular case, what happened? France has been selected and the particular quotation or the purchase order has been given to respective nation. So here the MFN clause may deal or maybe differ for different products, for different services, for different goods, and it changes from country to country, region to region, and products to products. Next perspective that we need to understand for a common feature is the national treatment of non-tariff barriers. So there are certain perspectives with respect to the tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers. So whenever we are dealing with the perspectives of the tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers, what we need to understand, we need to see that what is the perspectives in national perspectives. So national treatment of non-tariff barriers in the sense, if you are providing or if you are taxing a particular goods, if you are taxing a certain economy, if you are taxing a transaction of either the imports or exports, what will be your treatment or what will be your feasibility or what will be the compatibility that will be provided. How the particular country, how a particular nation or how a particular company will benefit out of these transactions. So a particular transaction with respect to the tariff and non-tariff perspectives also needs to be taken into consideration now. Now, what is a tariff barrier? Tariff barrier specifically focuses on the perspectives wherein a particular government is charging a tax on a particular goods. Now, either if you are importing the goods or either if you are exporting the goods, what happens? The country charges you a certain amount and that particular amount is called as in tax. So apart from tax, what are the various rules, regulation, guidelines, the procedures a particular company has to follow while importing or exporting the goods and services? So in order to liberalize, in order to provide a certain platform wherein the trade can be conducted fluently and efficiently or in an effective way, what happened? The government has to reduce the non-tariff barriers, so that we have to see the non-tariff has been reduced, the barriers to the trade has been reduced at a certain clause, and the trade has been conducted effectively and fluently. Now, going further with the why this particular trade agreement. So now what we are dealing with this particular chapter, we'll be dealing with the unilateral and multilateral trade agreements. So before going for the unilateral and multilateral trade agreements, you need to understand, you need to have a clarity about what a trade agreement is. So the understanding the trade agreement, first thing we are dealing with the importance. So dealing with the importance of the trade agreement, the first benefit or the first important perspective or the advantage of the trade agreement is it reduces the trade barriers. So at this point of time, what we can see, it reduces the trade barriers with respect to the taxation perspective. Now, what are the various trade barriers? The trade barriers can be related with the taxation, that is the tariff perspectives, or it may be related to the non-tariff barriers. So the two focuses on the tariff and non-tariff barriers we have to take into consideration, and most countries in the international trade is regulated by the unilateral barriers of several types. So these particular unilateral barriers, it is a particular concern wherein it has been found common at every platform. So these particular trade barriers will be same in US also, it will be same in European nations also, it may be same in the Southeast Asian nations also, it may be same at the eastern countries also. So here several type of trade barriers wherein it has been found out that these particular trade barriers are of common perspectives. The every nation, every country, every trade agreement should focus on a particular perspectives wherein the trade barriers with respect to the either to the tariff perspectives or to the non-tariff perspectives should be reduced at a minimal level, and a proper feasible and conducive environment should be provided so that a particular country or a particular nation or a particular company can conduct its business activities in an effective way and a proper conducive environment. Two or more nations can go for an economic integration by partial or full abolition of these particular barriers. Now, at this certain point of time, what happens when we say we want to reduce or we want to eliminate those barriers or we want to remove these particular barriers with respect to tariff and non-tariff perspectives, what we need to see an economic integration, that is a proper condition environment, a proper demand and supply matching, a proper exchange of goods and services, a proper export and import perspectives with respect to the partial or full abolition. Now, partial or full abolition is a particular perspective wherein whenever you say a particular government is imposing a certain taxes or a particular non-tariff barriers is into existence, all of a sudden it is impossible or it is very difficult for a particular nation to eliminate or to remove all these barriers. So for this particular concern, a particular country or a particular nation can go for a particular concern wherein these trade barriers can be removed in a partial phase, that is step by step, a procedure by procedure, one by one, a particular trade barriers is been eliminated, or after a certain point of time, the full removal of these abolition of these barriers can be into a certain picture or a perspectives. The trade agreements are one way to reduce these barriers, thereby opening all the parties to benefit of an increased trade. Yes, Trade agreement helps to develop the increased trade activities because there is a proper exchange, proper feasibility, proper availability of goods and services, wherein each and every member nation, each and every member country of the either the WTO or your respective economic union gets a benefit out of it. So wherever may be the trade agreement, whether trade agreement between your specific country, it is between your specific region, it is between your specific cartel, whatever it may be, it helps to reduce or it helps to provides a conducive environment in order to provide a feasible position as to help each and every country as a whole. Now, simultaneously, what happened? It helps or develops the international trade perspectives also. So, at the global level, at the international level, your transactions, your business activities, your import and export activities gets a very conducive environment and it gets benefited at a national level or the global level. In most of the modern economies, the possible coalition of interested groups are numerous, and hence the variety of possible unilateral trade barriers is great. Now here, what we are looking for in the most of the modern economies such as US, Russia, China, and so on, the coalition of groups of the interested groups are numerous. So as long as we can see that if there is a country or if there is a particular nation wherein the coalition of group is much higher. Now, if a particular composition of group is much higher, if the groups are at a very bigger scale, what happens? There are certain perspectives that the unilateral trade barriers are at a very larger extent. That is, it may be at a certain position that the barriers may be at a very higher level. Now, how these particular perspectives comes into picture? So, larger the group, larger the conditions, larger the views, larger the policies. So, every member nation contributing its own policies, contributing its own terms and conditions. So, at this point of time, what happened? The trade agreement should be at a certain stage that it should be minimal, it should be comfortable and acceptable to each and every country as a whole. So the dependency, the ideability, the feasibility of a particular trade agreement, the feasibility of the goods and services, the feasibility of the import and export, it totally depends on how is your nature, how is your composition of the respective coalition also. Now coalition is, for example, United States. United States is a particular concern wherein all of the member nations of the American economy has come forward, come together, and these particular groups have formed a certain coalition. From the coalition perspectives of the European Union, what we can see in the terms of European Union, there are several number of member nations who have come forward, come together, and they have formed a certain groups or a certain cartel. From the Asian perspectives, we have ASEAN, we have SAARC, we have certain concerns with respect to the BRICS economy also. So here, the coalition or the groups of economies, whenever they come together, larger the number of groups and services, larger is the certain possibility that the barriers may arrive at a very larger scale. Second point that we are looking with the importance of the trade agreement is with respect to the combination of the economic productivity. Yes, ultimately what we need to see, we need to understand, we need to identify whether the economic productivity, whether the production of goods and services is ultimately benefiting out of it or not. Now, whenever we are dealing with the trade agreement, what we see, it specifically focuses on import and export of goods and services, exchange of the goods. Now, whenever we need to understand exchange of goods, what we need to see, there is a proper production of the goods. Now, unless and until the goods are not been produced, unless and until the goods are not been manufactured, there is no point in discussing whether the goods can be exported or whether the goods can be imported or not. So in order to provide a combined economic productivity of the countries by the economic cooperation, we need to see there is an economic integration and economic productivity is increased at a stagnant stage or at a very steady stage. So in order to provide the goods and services to the member nations at the respective cartel, every country, every member nation has to focus on a certain perspectives wherein we deal with the production activity at a very specific concern. With these particular concern, what happened? The economic cooperation, economic integration, economic development of the member countries and the respective trade participating countries increases at a very larger scale. International trade allows each country to specialize in the goods and it can produce cheaply and efficiently the relative and produce and sell these particular goods and services to the other countries. Now, with respect to international trade, what we have seen with the respective trade theories of Adam Smith, Ricardo, and Heckler-Ohlin, wherein they are specifically focusing on the certain perspectives of speciality in goods and services. Every country, every nation, every economy should focus on producing only those goods and services wherein they are having a certain speciality and a certain specific advantage. Now, with respect to the advantage may be with respect to the cost, It may be with respect to the comparative advantage, or it may be respect to the advantage with respect to the factors of production. So specifying on your focusing on your specific advantage, the country at the international trade agreement should produce only those goods and services wherein it can produce the goods at a very cheaper cost and an efficient relative to the other countries. So in respect to the comparison, what we need to see whether the member nations is going to benefit out of it, whether the cost will be affordable to the respective countries, whether the product quality will be suitable and conducive, and then only the country should go for the economic production. So unless and until all these factors of production are quite conducive, are quite comfortable, the country should not go for producing and manufacturing of those goods and services. Now, if all this particular environment, if all these particular conditions have been fulfilled, then what happens? It relates to the economic productivity of goods and services. The production that is being made, the productivity that is being undertaken, it is quite economical, it is quite conducive, it is quite beneficial to countries at large and to the economy as a whole. Third perspective, or the third point, is specialization enables all the countries to achieve higher real income. So ultimately what we are looking for, we are looking for the benefit perspectives with respect to the income generation. Now income generation is that particular perspective wherein we have to see that the real income of a particular country or a nation needs to be developed. Now whenever we are exchanging the goods and services, we are not exchanging these goods and services at a free of cost or a certain perspective wherein it will be provided freely to all the countries. Now, when these particular goods and services have been produced in a specific concern of specialization, what we need to see, every member country, every member nation, or the participants of the global economy, participants in the international trade, has to provide a certain benefit to each other. Now, if each another, that is, all the components, all the countries are benefiting, are getting benefited at a very platform wherein a proper benefit has been given, then that particular conducive environment can lead to a certain concern that the economic productivity, economic integration can be achieved very fluently and very effectively. Another perspective is with respect to the trade agreements brings many benefits for around the world. So this particular trade agreement gives you certain benefits which has been generated and which has been created across the globe. Now these particular across the globe, the benefit can be for establishment of the new markets, for creating the job opportunities, for creating a good competitive and healthy environment, and lastly for increasing the foreign investment. So foreign investment development also needs to be here, and at this point of time what we need to see, the investments of the foreign, that is FDI or FII, also needs to be into perspective. So trade agreement brings in many benefits for the economies around the world, around the globe. Now, with respect to the new markets, how does it create the new market? Because all the trade policies that have been available, it is at a certain perspective that they are the particular condition and okay, sorry for the interruption. Back to the presentations. So in terms of new markets, what we need to see that the proper trade liberalization takes place between the member countries, and the new markets are always been opened for the trade market. So for example, if you are exporting the goods and services, or we are importing the goods and services, this particular export and import of goods and services should be available to all the member nations, all the member countries, and the economy as a whole, or all types of market. So if you are importing certain goods and services and the port trust is available at Mumbai, then these particular goods and services are available across India. So with this particular concern, what happened? The trade has been liberalized, the market has been opened up, and the trade partners of the member countries are also getting benefited out of it. Free trade zones allows exports to grow. So yes, if the particular free trades have been developed in your country, in your particular nation, or across the globe, what happened? It allows you a certain environment wherein the exports can be increased at a very larger scale. further perspectives with respect to the jobs. So it helps to create the new jobs for the new entrants. That is, if your production is bit more developed, if there is a certain demands of goods and services, what happen? The goods are being demanded at a very higher rate, and being in a competitive market position, what happen? There is a proper creation of jobs in the market perspectives, on the economic perspectives. Most of the jobs are dependent on the exports. Now, why this particular statement has been provided that most of jobs are dependent on exports? Because if until and unless there is a demand from the international market, unless and until that the goods and services have been exported, there is no production into existence, and there is no existence of goods and services that can be exported. So here, what we need to see, the proper environment for creation of job is also important. Foreign investment with respect to the foreign investment of FDI and FII with respect to the free trade agreement also needs to be into picture or into existence. If the market is open for the trade partners, so does the investment opportunities is also been opened up. Now, for example, when in the year 1991, India has opened its economy with the terms of LPG policy, that is liberalization, privatization, globalization, what happened? The Indian market was made available to the foreign investment. So different foreign investors, they came down to India and they started to invest into our economy. So here international investment also takes into picture, and the investment opportunities for the domestic economy, for the domestic concern, and the international concerns also gives a certain platform. Next thing that we have to see is with respect to the competitiveness and the agreements. So competitiveness and agreements is always increasing at the industrial level also, because it helps to expand or increase your exports also. So proper expand proper environment with respect to the expansion of imports, creating a competitive environment is also help with the inclusive of the trade agreements that are into existence. Competition from abroad forces and the domestic producers. So proper coordination between the competition that is available at the international level and the producers at the domestic level is also helping, which helps to keep your prices down and at a very stagnant position. So when if the particular product is being sold at a certain price at a domestic market, the same competitive price is also being quoted at the international market or the global market. So competition is also being conducted, or balanced stage is being created at the international level or the global level. Coming with the specific concern of the trade agreement or different types of trade agreement. Now, trade agreements can be classified, or it can be justified, or it can be different divided into major perspectives of 4 types. These particular 4 types of classification of trade agreements are multilateral trade agreement, bilateral trade agreement, plurilateral trade agreement, and lastly, unilateral trade agreement. Now, these particular 4 types of agreements which are into existence of the international trade, of the global trade, will deal one by one in detail in the further slides. First perspective is with respect to the bilateral trade agreement. So bilateral trade agreement is always a particular trade agreement which the particular meaning or the particular term itself means bi means two. So any trade agreement that is BTA, which has been signed between 2 countries, is called as a bilateral trade agreement. BTA gives a preference to certain countries and commercial relationship, facilitating trade and investment between the home country and the foreign country. So with respect to the example, I'll give a simple example, that is a trade agreement between 2 countries. A trade agreement between Russia and US, Russia and India, India and US, India and Europe, India and Australia, India and Japan, Japan and Africa, Japan and South Korea, Japan and Australia, and so on. So here, if a particular trade agreement that has been signed between specific 2 countries, then that particular trade agreement can be called as a bilateral trade agreement. It gives a certain conditional environment for facilitating the trade and investment between the home country and the foreign country. So here, that is one country will be a home country, that is a domestic country, and another country will be a foreign country. So 2 countries are into perspectives and 2 nations are into perspectives. Reducing or eliminating the tariff. So what they are focusing on reducing or eliminating the tariff barrier. So this particular barrier may be with respect to the tariff, or it may be a non-tariff barrier perspective. Another perspective or the concern may be with respect to the import quota. So if at a particular point of time, what we see, if a particular quota has been established or imposed, so with this with the help of trade agreements also, you can either increase the quota or you can decrease the quota. So a balanced trade can be conducted if a particular trade has been conducted in a 2 perspective, that is a bilateral perspectives. export restraints and other trade barriers. So it also helps to provide a certain guidelines or a certain environment with respect to the export restraints. So if a particular member country has imposed a certain restraints on exports, that particular exports can be reduced or increase, and with this particular perspectives, the restraints in the trade agreement of the exports and imports can also be matched. And it can also specifically focus on the trade barriers of the perspectives of either the trade and non-trade barriers also. The second perspective that we are looking for is the multilateral trade agreement, a trade agreement which is signed between two or more than two countries. So maximum number of countries have been involved, more than two countries have been involved, then that particular trade agreement is called as a multilateral trade agreement. They are usually intended to down or reduce down the between the participating countries. So if two or more countries come together and simultaneously together or at a certain platform, they are trying to reduce the trade barriers between the participating countries, between the member countries, then this particular trade agreement is called as a multilateral trade agreement. So once a particular goods and services or once a particular agreement is been negotiated, they becomes a very powerful agreement or a powerful nations. For example, BRICS and SAARC are a certain, or ASEAN is a particular example of wherein the multilateral trade agreements is into perspectives or into picture. Now, this particular agreement of BRICS and SAARC, that is BRICS, for example, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa into perspectives. So for exporting and importing certain goods and services, what happened? We have signed or we have created certain multilateral trade agreement between these particular 5 member nations. Now, specific, for example, iron ore, for example, of uranium or certain cotton and textile. Now, if this particular specific, these particular goods and services are needed to be exported or imported, the multilateral trade agreement with these perspectives of BRICS says specifically that if you want to purchase or if you want to import or export these particular goods and services of either iron ore or textile or cotton or yarn, whatever, you have to export, you have to import these particular goods and services from these member nations only. So if India is in needs of certain goods and services with respect to these particular types of goods, he will approach or India will approach only Brazil, only Russia, only China, or only South Africa. So these particular multilateral trade agreements give you certain points of negotiation or certain perspectives wherein you are giving a certain perspectives of a certain MFN clause, that is most favored nation clause, and you are giving a certain preference or priority to the specific concern. MTA are considered the most effective way of liberalizing the trade in an interdependent global economy. So with this particular question, what happened? The economy gets interdependent on each other and the countries can exchange these goods and services at a very feasible rate and a very faster rate at a very conducive or a comfortable environment. Plurilateral trade agreement, a PTA, that is plurilateral trade agreement, is a special type of MTA, that is multilateral trade agreement. So in this particular concern, a combination of primary difference between a PTA and MTA you can find out is the availability of reservations is more limited under a PTA. So under the PTA, that is plurilateral trade agreement, there are certain reservations perspective. So these particular reservation perspectives can be with respect to the goods, with respect to the prices, with respect to the terms and conditions of the respective contract the member nations or the member countries have been specifying. So if a particular trade agreement is having a certain set, a certain guidelines, or certain agreements with respect to the certain constraints, then that particular type of agreement between the member countries is called as an PTA, that is plurilateral trade agreement. Due to the limited nature of PTA, the full cooperation of the parties come to an agreement clause. So at this point, what we can see, due to the limited nature of PTA, so because what happens when you are imposing certain terms and conditions, when you are imposing certain norms, it is very difficult to existence that the PTA can be into picture. So it is very limited perspectives. Most of the member countries do not prefer to enter into PTA, and due to this concern, the economic integration, economic activities are at a standstill stage. Next perspective that we are seeing is with respect to the unilateral trade agreement. Trade is as an important country, as an importing country offers in order to encourage the exporting country to engage in international economic activity that will improve the exporting country's economy. So unilateral trade agreement is a particular agreement wherein the specific meaning means unilateral. It is a particular perspective wherein only one country, only one nation, only one international economic perspective or member country is exporting the goods and services, and there is no in return import from that particular country. So if a particular transaction is done unilaterally from only one side perspectives, then that particular type of trade agreement is considered or meant as a unilateral trade agreement. Now, for example, India is only exporting to a certain goods and services to only France, to only Russia, to only Germany, to only US, to only Australia, to only Singapore, and so on. So here, what happened? India is only exporting certain goods and services to only one member country, but in return, India is not importing certain another goods and services from the respective countries. In reverse situation, if we are importing certain goods and services from only US, from only Germany, from only France, from only China, from only Russia, from only Afghanistan, from only Pakistan, and so on. So here, what happened? It is a type of only unilateral trade agreement where only one activity takes place and not the both ways. That is the two-way activity is not into picture. So that particular type of perspective is called as an unilateral trade agreement. So I have taken an example with respect to the Sri Lanka. So bilateral trade agreement with respect to the Sri Lanka. So China and Sri Lanka has a certain bilateral trade agreement with respect to the China-Sri Lanka rubber rice agreement. So they have a certain rubber rice agreement with respect to the exchange of goods and services, exchange of bilateral goods with respect to the rubber and rice. So what happened? If China is exporting rubber, then Sri Lanka has to export rice in return. So and another perspective with respect to Sri Lanka, we have Indo-Lanka Free Trade Agreement. So ISFTA. So that's particular perspective with respect to the India and Sri Lanka is also into perspective and into picture, wherein a bilateral agreement is specifically into concern with India and Sri Lanka. Another perspective with the Bangladesh MULS FTA with Sri Lanka. So Bangladesh, a particular concern or a particular nation is having an agreement with Sri Lanka. So only two member countries. So bilateral means bi means two. So only two countries are trading and conducting the business activities. Another perspective of Pakistan and Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement, that is PSFTA, is also into picture. In respect to the other than Sri Lanka, what we can see, there is a certain perspectives of Canada and USA free trade agreement. So between the Canada and between the USA, they have a certain respective own trade agreement and they have a certain perspective with respect to the BTA, that is bilateral trade agreement is into picture. So China-Sri Lanka trade rubber rice agreement, we have already dealt with and we have seen what is the understanding or meaning of it. So important feature is a specific price, a specific quantity, a specific quality of rubber is been exported from China, and in return, the rice is been imported by China from Sri Lanka. So here, a bilateral trade agreement has been conducted between China and Sri Lanka, and a specific only two types of goods and services, only two member nations or two countries are into perspectives, and they start exporting and importing the goods and services. So here, both the countries are simultaneously benefited out of it. With respect to the Indo-Lanka Free Trade Agreement, it is completely or phased elimination of certain tariffs. So if India and Sri Lanka want to export certain goods and services, want to import certain goods and services, then there is a certain perspectives of exchange of goods and services with respect to the specific goods between the only two countries, only two member nations, that is India and Sri Lanka. It is specifically focusing on reducing the tariff or removing the tariff barrier as well as the non-tariff barriers also. So with this particular question, what we need to identify, there is a certain list that also been provided by the member countries. So this particular list may be related to the goods and services. So a particular list that is provided for positive list and a negative list. So in order to protect the national interest of a particular country, what happens? We every year a particular country establish or produces the list of the positive goods and non-positive, that is the negative goods. So if a particular trade transaction is needed to be conducted with respect to positive goods, then with respect to the positive goods also a proper list of countries is also been provided. With respect to the negative, that is the import and export of the negative goods and services, the proper member countries, member nations, the list of nations is also been provided. So in order to protect the negative list of a particular country or a particular member nation cannot undergo and enter into a transaction between the respective countries with respect to the MTA, that is multilateral trade agreements also. The rules of origin is a certain criteria to ensure a minimum local content. So in order to identify what is the local constraint of this respective product of the respective goods and services, we need to understand what are the different types of goods and services that are also been traded. So effective safety clauses. So with respect to the clauses of this particular agreement, we have to also take into consideration that proper safety measures have also been conducted. All terms and conditions have been satisfied and fulfilled, and it is always in the national interest of a particular country. Now looking for the PSFTA, that is Pakistan Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement. It has been established for eliminating the phases or the eliminating of the different tariffs at their respective levels. So in order to reduce the tariff barriers of the Pakistan and Sri Lanka, they themselves has also entered into certain agreements or a certain perspectives. The negative list, yes, the same features that apply as it applies to the Indian economy. The same agreement has been continued further, and Sri Lanka has entered into the same agreement between the Pakistan and Sri Lanka also. Canada and USA. Canada and USA also specifically focuses on the export and import of goods and services with respect to the wheat, cattle, processed potatoes, sugar exports, and so on. So if Canada is in need of these particular goods and services, it will export these particular goods and services to specifically to the US only. Now, USA will specifically export certain goods and services with respect to corn. So if Canada is in needs of corn, what happen? Canada will import these goods and services from US only. So a multilateral trade agreement, bilateral trade agreement has been conducted between Canada and US with respect to the export and goods and export of or import of goods and services with respect to cattle, wheat, processed potatoes, sugar exports, and corn respectively. Next thing, multilateral trade agreements of Sri Lanka's contribution. So Sri Lanka is simultaneously having a contribution in SAFTA also, that is Southeast Asian Free Trade Agreement. It is having a position in APTA, that is APTA, that is Asia Pacific Trade Agreement also, and NAFTA also, that is North American Free Trade Agreement. So multilateral trade agreement. Sri Lanka is conducting the business activities with respect to certain other member nations, other countries also. So here what we can see, Sri Lanka is available or applicable or having a certain composition of bilateral trade agreement also and multilateral trade agreement also with respect to the SAFTA, that is South Asian Free Trade Agreement. So China is a certain particular perspective, Asia in terms of India is also perspective, Pakistan is also perspective, Sri Lanka is also perspective, Bangladesh is also perspective, and all these particular countries are the member nations of this particular SAFTA. Going further, the agreement outlines a 10-year schedules for a free trade liberalization. So in this particular concern in SAFTA, what happened? A proper conducive environment, a proper explanation is being provided with respect to the how in particular perspectives of 10 years, the particular transaction of the goods and services or the activities can be conducted at a very regional level, national level, and international level, reducing and eliminating the customs duties on cross-border trade. So cross-border trade is a particular concern wherein within the countries, whenever if a particular goods and services are being exported between the countries, between the member nations, so how the cross-border transaction, cross-border activities can be conducted between the member nations is being explained. With respect to the APTA, that is Asia Pacific Trade Agreement, it specifically focuses on the Bangkok terms and conditions. So it has been signed at the Bangkok, and the agreement specifically focuses on the, formerly it was earlier known as Bangkok Agreement because it was signed at Bangkok. Now APTA is a wide window which focuses on Chinese and Korean markets, and it is providing a certain platform in the China and Pacific region. So India, Sri Lanka, China, Russia, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and so on. So all the member nation countries, and APTA is specifically designed for importing or exporting the massive goods and services with respect to the opportunities or market availability in China and Korea. So this covers around 50% of Sri Lanka's total exports into the China. So what this particular agreement focuses on, specifically with respect to the Sri Lanka's exports to China. So here what Sri Lanka will be doing, maximum amount of goods and services of Sri Lanka will be exported to the Chinese economy or into the Chinese market. So exchanging the sports and training skills also. So here for understanding or undertaking the different trade activities, the APTA, that is Asia Pacific Trade Agreement, was into picture, was into concern. Next perspective we have is NAFTA, that is North American Free Trade Agreement. So with respect to the NAFTA, the Sri Lanka is having its position is a visibility or availability or a certain position or contribution to the NAFTA trade agreements also. So with respect to the North American Free Trade Economy, North American Free Trade Agreement has been signed, and contributors of Sri Lanka is also available at this perspective. So now going specifically with the concern of merits of the trade agreement. So what are the various merits due to which the trade agreement can benefit the both member countries and the participant countries? Now these trade agreements can be with respect to the specifically of unilateral, multilateral, bilateral, or plurilateral trade agreements. So first thing, removal of disputes. So always what we are looking for, the member country, the member nation is looking for removal of the disputes between the nations, between the countries. So whatever may be your disputes with respect to trade, with respect to the activity, with respect to the export of goods and services, it should be seen that all the activities, all the disputes have been reduced. Expansion of expansion of markets for the exports and imports. So it should provide a certain conducive environments wherein your exports of goods and services should be expanded at a very larger scale and a very greater stage. Specialization of labor and capital. So proper utilization, optimum utilization of goods and services of the labors and capital that is available in your economy should be benefited by both the member countries, the member nations. Foreign employment and economic growth. So it should provide a certain environment or a certain platform wherein proper employment opportunities have been created to all the member nations, all the member countries. Next thing, increase production efficiency effectively and efficiently. So what we need to see that the production, the manufacturing, the productivity is been created, it is been developed, it is developed at a certain stage wherein it is always effectively and efficiently developed at the proper stage and at a balanced stage. And lastly, what we need to see that it is providing a consumer satisfaction or customer satisfaction to all the customers or all the member participants who are consuming these goods and services. Demerits of the trade agreement, the various demerits can be the specific focused that the first primary focus should be on creating a certain platform wherein maximum trade barriers are being reduced or removed. Another perspective with respect to the foreign competition. So it's always see that the competition at the international market, global market is reduced at a very higher stage and a proper balanced growth is being created at every member country, every member nation. It should always also see for the domestic economic instability. So in order to increase the instability into our economic market or in our domestic market, what we need to see, the proper international trade has been conducted, the trade cycles have been conducted and it has been balanced, and it is providing a platform for developing our economy, for providing our goods and services at the global market and international market. Removal of trade barriers with respect to the structural unemployment. So it should also see that proper employment opportunities are created in the domestic country and the host and the home country also, and so that the unemployment is reduced at a very larger scale. Next thing that we have to see is the certain perspectives with respect to the conclusion. Now, what is the various conclusion of the trade agreement? How this particular conclusion comes into picture of the trade agreement? So trade agreement is a type of an economic integration. It is also classified on the basis of number of states, that is the participants which are into picture, and this participant decides whether it is a multilateral, unilateral, bilateral and plurilateral trade agreement. It is also a combination of more or a different types of trade agreement with respect to the different goods and services and with respect to the different countries or member nations. Suggestions, it should be beneficial for both the countries, both the member nations. It should always be a certain position wherein the trade difficulties are reduced at a very larger scale. Always all illegal trading activities should be banned, that is benefit activity should be provided wherein no illegal activity between the member nations, between the member countries should be conducted or promoted for, and it should always focus on protecting the domestic economy. So when we are looking for the international economy or the global economy, we should also see or focus on creating a development or conducive environment for the domestic or the home nation or the home country also. Going further, lastly, the suggestions for the development of the trade agreement should be, it should always focus on developing the relations between the member nations or the member countries at each side. So both the parties must simultaneously benefit out of these trade agreements. That's all for the today's lecture. We'll conclude with this particular chapter of the trade types of different trade agreements that we have seen today. If you have any difficulty or any doubts at this position, you may ask certain questions. Thank you for your patience listening. Good day. Now I'll be posting you the attendance links for the today's session